Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Christina. Hi, Ron.
Hi,
Hi, Jake. Hi,
how we
Sean.
doing?
How's everyone doing?
Great.
Well, thanks everyone for taking time today. This is a new thing that we're trying to experiment with at KSA here. We are calling it KSA Live. Oh shit, Q&A. And we're building on some momentum from some workshops I've been giving recently where we're getting an awful lot of questions, and pretty foundational questions as it relates to marketing. For the past 2 years or so, I've had my business for more years than I care to admit at this point. But in particular, we're seeing a lot of foundational issues with marketing, especially as we go in and we start diving into how do we build campaigns and paid campaigns. And we see a lot of advertising waste. So based on that, we started thinking about how do we fix that problem? Because clients keep on getting stuck and they get stuck at the foundation. So what we've built on our side is identifying, okay, how do we help our clients go from oh shit to hell yeah? And we do that with the results. And it all starts with this foundation. We call it who, what, where. So this monthly series is we're thinking going to kick off officially next month. You guys are part of the soft launch. Thank you. And we just want to tackle marketing moments every month. So this month we're going to focus on the who. Next month we'll focus on what, where. It'll be cyclical over the course of a year. We'll go through who, what, where, four times, and then we're just going to keep on building on that content and put it in a future YouTube channel. So this is all new. I hate technology, as most of you know. So this is going to be awkward, and I'm just going to be me, and you're just going to be you, and it won't take much time. Any questions? Make sense?
Sounds
Great.
great.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about where people get stuck. They get stuck at who, what, where. And they get stuck in particular with who, because they try to market to everyone. And they think, okay, I've got a product. People have mouths. I'm going to sell a product to any person who has a mouth. Or they get too specific and you can't reach them. So it's sort of two different ends of the spectrum, and it's finding that happy medium when we talk about who. So our process at KSA, we like to call it the Oshi process. Oh shit to hell yeah. I'm Katie. I curse a lot. So we will start with the oh shit moments. So oh shit moments are our catalyst for change. And where there is chaos, there is opportunity. So in this moment in time, there seems to be an epic ton of oh shit moments that I think most businesses are having right now, in particular as it relates to the who. Um, they're looking at their business and they're thinking, or their target audience or their marketing and saying, I don't even know, is this the right audience for this moment in time? And what I can say about marketing is iterative. So where we start to where we end up in 5, 10, 15 years is going to change over time. And we just get better with time. We tighten our messages, we tighten our marketing activities, we tighten our targeting. And that is how we evolve. So I'd love to know, does anybody have a big challenge right now as it relates to reaching or identifying your ideal audience, or sometimes they call it your ICP? Yes, Sean.
I do.
Great. What's your biggest challenge?
So two things. I have three brands that I'm managing currently.
Oh,
So
fuck you. Of course you
I
do. So you have a house of brands.
I have a bunch of different things and they're totally different voices and totally different audiences. So for me as a single person, that's a lot to
Yeah,
handle.
you made your life extra, or your business life extra complicated.
I did, which I do. But
Hmm.
specifically with this new AI consulting business that we're launching, that's totally brand new, right? So our idea is to create content, webinars, lunch and learns, things for chambers of commerce, things like that, and some downloadable content on the website to engage an audience. The idea for us is small, medium businesses, but we're not marketing people, right? And so without any money, without any customers to launch this brand, bootstrapping it, where do you start?
Great question. So what are we selling? I'm unclear with
We are
what are people
selling.
going to pay you for as it relates to
Yeah,
this
so there's going to
AI?
be four sort of lines of revenue there. One is a fractional AI advisory. So we
Okay.
sort of become, based on a subscription model, the AI team for your company.
Hmm.
That can be probably would be three tiers, depending how much time and effort that you need. There will be project-based consulting where we actually come in and build automation or transformation with you. And then workshops, that is specific content that we build and sell, as a workshop, and then customized training. So those are like kind of the four lines for us.
What are you launching? So this is a new business.
Yep.
You're starting. So that's obviously where you envision 2 years from now, 5 years from now being. Where do you want to be in, let's call it 6 months? What's going to define success for you?
So the website has been launched. We are currently creating that free content, right?
Hmm.
So, I want to be not producing, we've already producing the content, but I want to be giving weekly webinars,
Hmm.
and I want to have, I'd say AI readiness assessment is kind of our first product. That is a
Okay.
flat fee, just an introduction
Okay.
to
Let's
us.
start there. Let's
Okay.
start with the AI readiness assessment. In 6 months, how many readiness assessments do you want to deliver?
I would say 15 is probably a reasonable goal.
Great. And then 2 years from now, how many readiness assessments do you want to deliver?
100,
A month or total?
no total.
Total.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're help me with math. So to get to 15 and we're doing that, getting to 100 total over 2 years, how many readiness assessments do we need to complete a month?
Well, for 102 years, probably nine.
Nine. Okay, so 9 assessments a month, six
Yeah.
months, you want to have enough demand.
Let's say two a
Uh,
week. That's a fair, like
would you
something
say?
like that. 2 to 3 a week is
Two to
really.
three a week. And so in 9 months, we want to be building that momentum. So we've got enough people interested that they are curious about that. Okay, that's great. That is a great example. We are going to start. I'm going to come back to that around as we get into the next section. Anybody else have another audience that they're struggling with how they need to reach? Yes, Mark?
Yeah. Yes. So I'm, as you can see behind me, I have art. I create something called subliminal story art. So this is actually a work in progress. And a big area of focus that I started last year and I'm really branching in and expanding into is the experience model. So it's team building workshops. It's client appreciation events. It's all sorts of different things where the community can come together, the employees can come together, the leadership team can come together. And so I've really been working towards that, and it's just a matter of is that someone like is that the HR person? So I'm as I've sold a number of these, they're going well, and now it's a matter of I want to scale more of them, and I feel like I have identified who it is, but I'm not quite sure if I've got it completely dialed in yet on who
And
I'm focusing in on.
and what is that sort of business trigger that you're gonna say, yes, you've dialed it in and you're hitting it on nails? Is it a
What's
volume? Like
say that again?
what is that business metric that you're gonna monitor when you know you're gonna feel that you've got it dialed in? Like that heck yeah
Basically,
moment.
my goal was to do 12 of them this year.
12 of
Uh,
them this year.
I did
Okay.
2 or 3 last year.
Okay.
Um, it's like I feel like I have enough of the capacity to be able to do that. And I feel like at 12, I'm like, okay, the momentum's going.
Okay. That's perfect. Those are two great examples. I am going to start with those two examples unless anyone else has a specific one, and we are going to go through that. Now, this is where Katie's technology brain goes wonderful. Okay. Um, so this is how you need to think about as you're targeting those audiences. There's very, very broad and there's very, very specific. So I'm going to use, we've worked with Pepsi for more decades than I care to admit. And it's very easy to think of a brand of soda as a product that can go into anyone's audience, into anyone's mouth. And what Pepsi does a brilliant job of is breaking down very specific audience segments and knowing how they're building that future demand. So you have your loyalists who might be old ladies like me buying for a family and buying, a multi-serve product. But in terms of who they market to and who they're trying to connect with, especially when they're talking about paid, is they're leaning into pulp culture moments because they're a pop culture brand on the core Blue brand. And that's all about being relevant to that younger audience. Because if they don't capture that younger audience now, then they will never choose to drink soda as an occasional indulgence as they get older. Now, with an organization like Pepsi, much like you're talking about, Sean, where you're going to have multiple business lines, you might age out of certain products, or you might use and get engaged with different products over the course of a day, a week, a year. They meet those very specific moments in time. And so when we're dialed in on the who, and we know we're going to speak to a younger audience, and we know what motivates them and what makes them tick, then it's about building a marketing engine. And that's what we call the what. Let's see. This is, oh, there we go. So who is clarity and specificity on that audience? What do they need? Where do they fit within your current services or products that you're offering? And how do you connect with them? And the connection part's really important there because, especially at the end of the day, we want them to part with money. So people to make that purchasing decision, they need to feel like they trust you, that they're aligned with you, that this is the right move. And that's irregardless of whether or not it is a beverage, or a professional services, and both of you are selling professional services. So when we're clear on that and the moment in time when they make that purchase decision, then it becomes inherently easier to figure out how do we keep on hitting them with that mention? How do we keep on hitting them with that message? So the what is that message that's running through some kind of marketing engine, which is might be whether it's your CRM or your SEO or your content drip, and how are you activating and constantly warming up that engine? And then the plan is where you want to be. A plan to be where? How are you going to reach them before they don't know, or when they don't know about you? So you have to have the who right first. You have to build the right levers and tools so you can keep people moving through your funnel and through your marketing plan, through an engine. Because if we're just putting stuff up on social and we have no way to engage with them or to drive that sale or to drive that purchase, and I will say I am great at doing this for the rest of the world. And when we're business owners, we suck at it. We all suck at it, because it's hard. It's hard. It's the easy thing to ignore. But the engine is what will keep a marketing program in your marketing activities moving efficiently. And then the where being understanding that context of where the audience is and the channel to reach them. When we go who, what, where over and over again, and we keep on thinking about it in those three ways, then you start getting a spiral, and that's when you start seeing those results. It's like a three-legged stool. If you have two, you're only going to see some results. If you have all three, that's when you see the repeatable and the scalable results. Does that make sense? Any questions? So, and we can't go through all of this and we can't get into the nitty gritty of all the different ways, but this is how I want you to think about, especially you, Sean, and you, Mark, as you've got different potential audiences. So I'll email this to you as a follow-up. Um, think of 5 customer segments, and you want to get very specific with them. Think about geography. Like Mark, you can't offer your service. You don't want to be traveling on a plane every month. So start within a certain geography of where you are and think about what are the businesses that are in the backyard that are that you can get some volume from. And be very specific around what is it that's going to motivate them? Is it that it's team building? Like you're looking for those companies that maybe are in a difficult industry right now. They might need to feel better with their team. There's a lot of pain in companies. At the same time, you might have a growing organization. They might have a different need for the art. So think about those segments in a very specific way. Sean, with you, you mentioned chambers of commerce. That's probably your first audience that you want to be focused on because you need to get this out to the masses for your services. And then you want to think about who are those end users that are going to actually pay for your services and get specific around them. Once you have five, and every marketer is going to tell you no more than three. And I'm going to tell you to start with five because the five are going to give you things to occupy your shower time about and really imagine who you want to hang out with because we're talking about our businesses and we're talking about our customers and we don't want assholes. We want the people that align with our product and our service.
Yep.
And that specificity is the more you have that clarity in your head of these are the types of clients I want, then you can focus your marketing activities there. Does that make sense?
It
Any
does. Yeah, I think like for us, it's going to be riding that line between the DIY super small business
Right.
and the sort of medium, small to medium, which is a huge
Right.
audience, right? I mean, from, you know, one employee to 1,000 or from, 1 million to 1 billion, I mean, like that's qualified as an SMB, but that's a giant
And that's why you want to be
audience.
very
So
laser focused on who are the people that are going to make that decision and give you money quickly
within those organizations. And so
within those organizations.
I
So
kind of, sorry,
in
go
your
ahead.
in your case, what I would say is you identify those segments, right?
Yep.
Once you have clarity on the types of people that you want to be doing business with and give yourself a timeline. So, Sean, we talked about 2 years
Yeah.
for you. So you want to think about the people that you want to look at your roster of your book of business in 2 years, and they're all stacked, and they're matching that ideal customer profile. May not be the case for the first year,
Sure.
but you want to be laser focused that in 2 years that you're getting closer to there.
Yeah.
Mark, in your case, it's going to be 1 year. Yes, Christina.
When does Sean make a switch? So if he's focused, he's filled out this list and figures out who will pay. I see that column. When do you decide that you might be going down a road that isn't working and I need to open it up to maybe bigger organizations? Maybe I start with a DIY.
That's where that engine is going to show you the results. So next month, we'll talk about an engine and what are the metrics that you need to be monitoring to know whether or not if your marketing activity is delivering the results. You can't know that any of that, frankly, in 30 days. 90 days, you can start getting some baseline barometers. At about a year of consistency is when I would say, if you've got it dialed in. And you may need to keep on dialing in more and more over time. But if we set ourselves some metrics up that we're monitoring on that engine, which is what we'll talk about next month, that's the how we know what we're doing and how we're tracking it and what success looks like, then you'll be looking at those two contexts. Because a lot of times people market to a specific audience, but they never track if they're actually reaching that audience and they never track if that message is landing with the audience. So they may have their targeting off. And that is where positioning and all of that stuff comes into play. So on the sheet, and I'll send this as a follow-up, you're going to see,
Are you
do these customers need you? Yes, Sean.
are you still sharing your screen? Because I've lost your PowerPoint
Hmm.
on my screen.
I still see it.
Yeah. Then it's
Yeah, I
probably
see it as well.
and it's a me problem, but I don't.
Welcome to I would be the first to assume it's a me problem. And did you find it?
Nope.
Up at the top of your Zoom, maybe there's the little link that says Katie's screen.
Um, nope. I don't see that either.
What
All
about the
right. Well,
view? Maybe the top right? Anyhow, okay.
No. Anyway,
all
keep
right.
on.
Well, we'll send it to you. What you would see is there's a list of five. So you're listing your five segments, and then there's three columns. And column one says these are people who need the service or the product that you are offering, right? So when we've got specificity on who the audience is, we need to make sure that it is aligned with what we're selling. Two, the second column is can you reach them? Do you have the means to reach them, whether it's through paid or organic? In your case, Sean, it's going to be super scrappy, so it all has to be free. You have to say with confidence that you can reach this audience that you're targeting. And then will pay. Will they pay you for your services? What you're going to do is you're going to go column by column and you're going to start with need. Of those five customers or those segments that you identified, five is the person who needs your service the most,
Yeah.
and one is the person who needs your service the least.
Okay.
Then the next column is reach. Five is the audience you can reach the quickest with the current means that you have today. You know, tomorrow you can light up a campaign and get in front of them. One would be the one that's a bigger stretch, like the lowest one you have an ability to reach today or in 6 months or whatever that timeline is.
Yeah.
And then the third one is, will they pay you? You know, because let's face it, if we're going to do marketing and we're going to invest in attracting audiences, the goal is to grow business and get sales. So if they aren't going to be willing to fork over that money, and that one's the hardest one to assign on. The best lever there is to look at is a business that maybe is only doing $200,000 a year going to pay for a $20,000 service? Most likely no. Like, you know, like do they have that capacity to pay for whatever the price point is that you're selling? And then you're going to rank that 5 to 1.
Yep.
You total between all of those, and the highest number is where you start.
Okay.
For example, in your case, Sean, chambers of commerce might be the easiest ones that you can reach really quickly. So they might get a 5, but they may not be paying you. So they're
I
giving
think
you a
that's
1.
I
And
think
that's
that's
gonna
the challenge I'm going to run into with chambers versus maybe trade organizations, right?
Right,
I think
exactly.
trade
And so that is
organizations
a
might
perfect
be that.
example of how when you put those three things and you total them together, it's going to help you be prioritized and be specific on one of those audiences or two of those audiences. You can't market all five at once. You need to get who, what, where working for that segment, and then you can move on to growing a different segment.
Okay.
So I'll send that. This is meant to be quick with like a simple tool for everyone to help you make some decisions moving forward on how you prioritize your audiences. Mark, since you can, and the rest of you guys, you can see the screen. Does that make sense to you? Does that help you?
Yep.
Yeah, and I really specifically like what you just mentioned to Sean about how you could get in front of these chambers, right? And though they're not necessarily going to be your customer, so in the chambers, maybe you can identify who that person might be. But I like the idea of where he was like, oh, well, maybe I'll go after these trade organizations where they are going to have alignments with what he's looking to do. So yeah, I think I like the three columns and being able to segment it out. You're segmenting to segment to clarify, and I like that. I like this tool for that particular reason. So yeah, that all makes sense.
Good. So I'm going to stop sharing. So my advice to both of you guys is to just think about those audiences. Be specific about it. What's keeping them up at night? What's that oh shit moment that target audience is having right now, where you are the only hell yeah solution that they may not even know they need. And when you can get that aligned, And the most important thing in my mind, aside from this stuff, is to dig in on the emotions. That's the part that people forget, is they dig in on the transactions, but they ignore the emotion. We are emotional human beings. AI cannot replace our emotions. It can probably give us make us feel good or bad, or we can have a decision. But we are irrational human beings. And when there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of oh shit moments, there's a lot of opportunity. Especially for what you're talking about, Sean and Mark, too. Like your services right now are extremely relevant in the here and now. It's just making sure that that who aligns with the moment.
So like, for example, Katie, like I think I have that sort of emotional, like, what are the problems we solve and what's our solution? Like, I think I
You're
have that,
very good at that. You that's like a superpower of yours.
right?
I would
Like
agree.
I've identified those things. How do I take that description of the problem and the solution and map that to a specific audience?
Great question. AI is your best friend there. So all I'm going to say is you can, once you know who that segment is,
Yep.
just use AI like a sparring partner, and have a conversation going back and forth as far as a small business goes. Say, this is the target audience I want to reach. These are the messages that I've built. What do I need to make sure that these land with that audience? In your case, when you're doing super scrappy stuff at a small level, I think that AI is an incredible tool and chat GPT to help you really think about all those different things. Now, the reality is the data is only as good as the data that goes into AI. The other way I would say is have some conversations, transcribe. Um, when you're doing your calls with potential intakes,
Yep.
test those different messages, take the transcripts of those messages, and just keep on running it into that same AI chat. And it's going to help you continuously unlock and feel closer into what's keeping that customer segment up. That stuff of what AI can help us with, taking our transcriptions of calls and using it as data points and stakeholder interviews to
Yep.
make sure that the emotional side is aligning with the people that we're talking to. That's transformative. And that's stuff that we weren't even able to do a year ago.
Right. And that stuff I am already doing.
Oh yeah.
It's like, how do I take it from there? That's where I get stuck. And maybe that's next week's lesson or next.
That'll be next month's lesson. We're just doing it the second Wednesday of every month is the
Okay.
plan. This
Cool.
is the soft launch to make sure that we can dial it in on a tight 30-minute activity where it is we're being specific, giving helpful, hopefully, some clarity and a tool. And then we can keep the conversation going. Because if we can go through the cycle 3 or 4 times, you'll have all that clarity. It's gonna take some time, but you know, that's that's what the goal is. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Good. Mark, did you have a question or anything?
No, I was just going to say, I really, obviously I know there's a lot of things happening out there in the world. And I, I mean, for as much as I've been thinking about these experiences with you mentioned something where it's like, yeah, I mean, a lot of their team, I mean, there's a lot of people that are really, taking this and looking at it and really internalizing a lot of this. And it's one of those things that, yeah, years ago I heard this phrase of I was on a Southwest flight and flight attendant said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight, or sit up, be tense, and don't. It's your choice.
Yes.
And that all being said, there are like this is really valuable for let's help your team come together despite all of these other things
Right. And
because
find
you
common
still need to
ground.
run a business, period. Like whatever's happening out there, yes, yeah, you could be aware of it at the same time. This is really that really is a huge benefit of the service that is that I'm offering with these
Yeah.
experiences because it's bringing people together, it's gathering them. It's also a lot of people say this feels like art therapy. So anyhow, all of that kind
Now,
of
does
came
the
up as
business get to keep the art when they're done? Is that part of the fact, the
so
cost?
there's two options, one of which is a workshop where I bring canvases for everyone to have and create their own piece.
Uh-huh.
The other experience is, and this is, I did this late last year with for a client appreciation. All of their clients signed the canvas. I branded it with the company, and then the original is now hanging in their lobby, and they gifted all of their clients with the print.
So I think that there's like, I mean, there's so many different ways you can take marketing there, but when you're thinking about specifics, like the thing that comes to mind to me is those organizations that are changing locations. Like that's like when you move an office, that's like a
Yeah.
huge trigger of like, there's all this awkwardness of people settling into that space, but then on top of
Yes.
it, they're staring at the walls, like, what am I going to put here? Um, and so like that is a huge trigger moment that I would say where you can get even more specific on audience on a target segment of this is you're targeting companies who have moved in the past year, who need to make that new home their signature, put
I
their
love
footprint.
that. What's so funny about that is, and without getting into all the other details, there's one that I've been thinking about internally in town that is going to be moving later on this year, but it's like they instantly came up to the list, all of, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it just
I
and
love
that's
that as a trigger
when we
moment.
get specific and we understand what that problem is, and I think that sort of leans in a little bit more to Sean, what you were asking about. When you've got the clarity on the solution that you can offer and what the problem is that they are facing, and I always say shower time. When I was like 25, I think, working at an agency, and that was like, 5 years ago. That there was a boss who gave a presentation that said, we know we are doing right by our client when you're thinking about them in the shower. And that has always stuck in my head as you want to occupy that shower time. So when you're thinking about your clients in the shower, you're like, that's that time. There's no screen, no one's interrupting you, you've got it to yourself. That's when you can sort of unlock it. And I just say that's why we space this to be a month apart, because if you sit and swirl with it for a month, then you're going to come in with different ideas next month, maybe, or different thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Questions? How
Thank
did
you.
you? Was this helpful?
for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, so with that, unless there's any print, I mean, I can stay on if anybody has any further questions, but I wanted to be mindful of time. And just keep on thinking about oh shit to hell yeah. What's that oh shit moment that these audiences have right now that you can really lean in and own? And how are you going to get them to hell yeah? And what does that journey look like? But, I mean, I have a whole team that does marketing and we can make it overcomplicated. But if you just sit with the foundation for a bit, you'll find it sort of shows you the path. And it's all one big experiment. That's the other thing. May work, maybe I may be wrong. But once you figure out who those audiences are and get your engine built, then you can pivot even faster. And try different audiences and try different messages and it lands. All right. Well, I'll send out the worksheet when I sit down at my desk later this afternoon. But thanks everyone for attending.
It
Thank
was
you.
great. Thank you very much.
All
Thanks,
right.
Katie.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.